On today's episode of Experiment Zone, we're going to talk to John Roman from BattlBox. John's sharing with us some things that they've already tested. John's going to take us through a number of things that they've tested on their homepage and some key pages that visitors see in their journey. And he's going to share some surprising outcomes that they've had. So keep listening. All right, tell me a little bit about yourself and your company.
Sure. So AJ, BattlBox is an outdoor adventure brand. We started in 2015. We're kind of known for a couple of things, one being our subscription box and the other being our Netflix TV show. Been on quite the journey with the business. We sold it in 2021 and then bought it back last year. So it's been quite the journey.
Tell us a little bit about that. What's the journey been like?
The buying and selling?
Sure.
Definitely it was not part of the plan. Our plan was to exit and figure out what the next chapter of life was going to be for us. But about a year in, we saw an opportunity to grab the business back and get it at a lesser price than we had previously sold it for. So it became like just a basic arbitrage business opportunity that we couldn't pass on. So we jumped back in the driver's seat and now we're driving again.
Nice. So for those listening along, tell us a little bit about your target audience. Who's your ideal customer?
Sure. So we're definitely a male-centric brand. So 90% of our purchasers are male. 10% are female. Out of the 10% that are female, 50% are actually purchasing for a male in their life. So super male-centric. Age, really, I'd say 24 to 54, 24 to 55 is all a sweet spot, but we really excel in the 34 to 44, 35 to 44 range. Household incomes typically 120 to 130.
Gotcha. And what prompts someone to look for a product or to look for you guys or to find you guys?
Sure. So we're a little bit different when you look at your traditional, direct-to-consumer brand, where it's very transactional, if you will. So we lead everything with content and building community, which is a lot in the funnel, and it's a long game for sure, but it's in the long run, it's better for really brand equity and creating a brand. So people typically find us on TikTok or YouTube, just going through maybe some outdoor best practices or some preparedness tips. Really, the average BattlBox customer could be one of so many different buckets. It could be just the adventurer, the hiker, the camper. It could be just a outdoor lover that wants to go, camping one weekend with their family. And it could even be just someone that cares about being prepared and just having a stock of gear in case something possibly goes wrong. Think of it almost like an insurance policy, except you actually get something tangible every month in the mail. So typically they find us on some sort of social media platform, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and they start learning about us, and eventually they decide they want to join.
And tell us what the experience is like once they do join. What do they get?
Sure. So we have 4 different tiers. The basic goes up to, and the basic, the advanced, the pro, and the pro plus. Basic starts at, it's $35 a month plus shipping and sales tax, all the way up to the Pro Plus, which is $170 a month plus shipping and tax. 50% of our base is in the Pro Plus, the largest tier, which is quite unusual for a traditional e-commerce to have that large of average order value. So in addition to the products that are in the box, and they stack, so if you get the Pro box, you get everything from the basic, the advanced, and the Pro item. But it could stand alone, because the value, if you're to shop these on your own and try to procure this box without our buying power, you're going to be paying significantly more. So a $200 all-in after shipping and tax box, you might not be able to source it for less than $350. So right there's value, but we actually we don't push that. That's not the value that we talk about. It's actually probably fourth or fifth on the list of benefits. So one of the biggest is the community. So we have not everybody joins right now the community is on Facebook. So it's a private group, members only. You have to be an active member. Not everybody joins the group. I think we have maybe 10,000 active members in there right now. And it's a true community, right? It's not us facilitating communication or trying to stem engagement, if you will. It's literally a true community, right? They're interacting with each other. They're trading gear. They're talking about hiking. They're talking about preparation. They could be talking about anything, right? They could be talking about what they do with their kids during the day. It doesn't necessarily even have to be outdoor centric, right? It's just a bunch of like-minded individuals having conversation. And the community to me is probably one of the most valuable, if not the most valuable piece. In addition to that, one of our big things we wrote out is called the Battlvault. So if you're an active member, you have access to this, and two different sections of it right now, but we're building it into something greater. One is the product section. So we have about, I think, 1,200 different SKUs in there at the best price you're going to find the item. So you will not be able to find it for as good of a price as we are going to sell it to you for. It's not a profit center for us. We're using our buying power and passing all the savings on to the consumer. And the second section is for partners. So outdoor gear, but not even necessarily limited to that. It's just people we found, other companies, partners that we can provide discounts or service for our members, just as an added value, added benefit besides the actual box. So those are probably the two biggest things, the community and the Battlvault, that really our customers love.
Love it. And I love how many different aspects of the value you're bringing out here. And what I'd love to do now is to transition to our taking a look at the site together, seeing how much of that stuff is really coming out, and then hearing a little bit from you about some of the choices that are on there. So let me go ahead and get this screen shared. All right. And before we hopped on today, we talked about how most of your traffic's on mobile. So we're going to be doing our review today on your mobile site. I'll just start with a couple things as I go, but please jump in as you're, want to share things for why you're doing it, or questions you might have, or any input I can share. So looking at your site, there was another thing that popped up before this, and the screen's been up for a little bit. So now this email sign up has popped up. I don't know if you guys have tested this before, but we always find a little surprisingly that this doesn't really hurt conversion, and it actually helps drive a lot of email. Do you guys have you guys done anything with that?
Yeah, so we have so we're crazy with the amount of testing that we do. So the pop-up you're seeing now is it's in a couple different, so we have call them campaign journeys, depending on behavior on the site. This is typically it's normally not the first, it's normally second or third in the series. And it's just 100% based on the user interaction with the site, how they're behaving, if we've already identified the traffic or not. And this is simply a digital asset. We put together 12 outdoor survival skills that everyone should master, and we're just going to share it with you in exchange for your email address so we can market to you later. Probably the first thing you saw was the spin to win.
Yes.
Okay, so
I did see it, and unfortunately, I either clicked away or it went away before I could get the screen share going today. So tell us a little bit about why you guys have that first.
So at least I will say at least the spin to win is a completely custom spin to win. So we built it. It looks like you have a couple axes, and it's a axe board, if you will, like throwing the axe to see what you win. So it's not your traditional boring spin to win. I don't like spin to win. I'm just never been a fan of it, but I'll be darned if it doesn't consistently outperform everything else we do from a pop-up perspective. It just converts significantly higher. And I'm waiting for the day when something performs better, because I don't like it. But you can't argue with the data, right? If it's converting I think it converts at 16%, which is just phenomenal. Even on bad months with maybe less ideal traffic going to the site, still north of 12. So it's tough to argue.
And you guys
keep
sound like you're just very data driven, right? So we're not just acting on what we think might work, but you're actually measuring it and making
we're
decisions based
yeah
on it.
we're nerds.
Mhm.
Every little incremental lift or change or tweak we can make to make the finite amount of traffic we get more valuable.
Yeah. And it sounds too like I'm seeing here both in the value you're giving in the joining the newsletter exchange as well as in the description of that custom spin wheel. There's some brand elements being introduced too. So it's like these are the first touch points for some people on the site that kind of introduce what you guys are all about too.
Yeah, that pre-digital piece is interesting because you typically don't see that on direct to consumer brands. It's more of a B2B play. And that's where we got the idea from, right? You see it
Mhm.
all of the time on B2B sites. Get this white paper, see this top 100 brand X. And the reality is it works. And
Mhm.
we tried to figure out how do we get that type of pitch on a consumer site. And we went through quite a few iterations, and that finally performs the best out of the things we tried.
That's great. What are some areas of the site where maybe there's, some shifting or some questions you might have that would be interesting to dive into next?
Yeah, so when we're sending traffic for the first time to the site, more times than not, it's a landing page, but
Mhm.
the landing page are actually iterations of our homepage,
Mm.
which you're on right now. Our most popular page section is the what's in the box. So people typically, the customer journey is they're here, they're going through this site currently, and they can pick your box and they can convert and make it all the way. Like if you click pick your box, it's going to fast forward to the box sections.
Mhm.
Um, and you have the 4 options. We've done testing on moving them out of order, moving them on mobile in a swipe graphic, and this still performs best. But when people are not ready to buy, the first thing they do is they hit the hot dog button, right? The option menu button, and they go to what's in the box.
Yeah, let's take a look at that. And to your point around the carousels versus exposed things, those are all really good variables to play with. Like we've seen ourselves, sometimes just like text links to things are more effective or having the full image and a description. So there's a lot to test that's really audience dependent.
So if you're scrolling down, and you eventually get to the options of picking your box, so we walk you through the steps, we walk you through the benefits, we get you excited, and then it's time to pick your box. So these images, there's 4 of them. It's this overhead shots, and it's, truth be told, they're transparent images, and we've just made the overhead shot. They're not really, shot overhead, and I don't like them. Not a fan of them. We
Mhm.
had so we were like, we have to do something better. It's gonna be an easy way to move the needle. So we did these amazing actual items in the box shots. We did above, we did overhead, we did side, we did front. We came up with all of these, and they look beautiful.
Mm.
And it truly shows what you're getting. Instead of us having this, and if you scroll up a little bit, we have to even put a warning. Products in the images below are examples of products you could receive and not the actual box itself. Which, like, having to put that gives me anxiety. But
Mm.
us testing the beautiful imagery that we did, professionally done, not photoshopped, significantly underperformed these overhead digital photos. And it just kind of like is a great reminder that you have to test, right? And even the things that seem glaringly obvious aren't necessarily the case. It's just funny because I would have bet every dollar in the bank account that these beautiful ads, beautiful shots we came up with were going to outperform, and they don't. It's just a fun reminder. That, and the last thing on the homepage, if you scroll down a little bit further, past this, and then we have over 1 million boxes shipped, and we have our Trust Pilot, unbiased third party, and then the as seen in. Typically, you see those right at the top of the site, arguably either above the fold or the first thing you see as you scroll from above the fold. They perform better down here. Does not make any sense. Like people, like someone who doesn't know that we test will like send us an email and they're like, excuse me, you have your social proof at the bottom half of the page. Like, what are you doing? Like, you clearly don't know we can move the needle for you. And it's like, here's a link to our test. Like, it doesn't work. So it's just funny that little nuances, but then for some brands, it might be the best practice in the needle mover. So it's just kind of a fun reminder of all these things need to be tested.
Yeah, I love your sharing those because I think you're right. Like we have this sense of what best practices are, but at the end of the day, the only way we really know is if we test it with our customers, with our live experience.
Exactly.
And I think, there's ways we could understand it if we wanted to dive into it. One of the things that I had in mind as you were saying that is, wow, I'd really want to see a usability study of your page and see how people move through it and what kind of questions they have as they go. Because I'm guessing they're not really thinking about, is this something that I should trust? Because they're still learning what it is to begin with. And that might be a reason that it is this way, but it's not intuitive that makes sense for all brands.
Right. So yeah, so the next place they go, in our most popular section is the what's in the box. So unlike, I don't view us as a subscription box, but we do have a subscription box. So if you're going to look at subscription boxes across the e-commerce realm, there's not a lot of transparency in what is actually in the past boxes, right? Most don't talk about it. You have to kind of do some recon and research, and it's oftentimes because part of their model is, high margin, low cost, not a great customer experience. So they don't showcase what was in the box previously, which we do the opposite. So we showcase every past box. We send one out every month, so 113 months of boxes. And it's the most popular area because you can literally come down, you can see a video. It's a 30-minute review of the box. We go through each item. You can buy it a la carte individually if you like, but you truly understand everything that came in there. And it just does a great job of setting proper expectations. There's not a surprise, right? You'll have people go through 4, 5, 6, 10 of these pages before then coming back, or we actually have a call to action on here to subscribe if you're ready. So they eventually, maybe we don't. We did.
Maybe it's at the top. Maybe. Let's see.
Oh, it is.
You have a join now at the top. Yeah.
So, the video is interesting. I don't know if you click it, what it looks like on mobile. I know desktop, it's quite the experience. So it's cool because we have all the items in the box that are at the bottom, so you can scroll through them too and see kind of the items. You don't have to leave the video and scroll back down.
Yeah, and I'm curious kind of what kind of testing you've done in this section. Are there certain things that surprised you along this way?
Yeah, so, so this is probably the maybe 10th iteration of the what's in the box pages. So now seems like a lot, but that's 10 different iterations, big iterations over 9 years. So it's not that crazy. It's changed a lot. So we previously, it's just grown over time and through testing. Initially, the page was literally just 2 images. We used to send a single card in the box, and one was kind of a summary, typed up couple paragraph summary, and one was the items in there. We would just scan the 2 images, or I guess we had the digital images, and that would be the breakdown. And then from that grew us putting the video there too. And then we quickly found through just customer feedback that, we can want everybody to be a member, be a subscriber to the box. But the reality is, that's not for everyone. Some people are not comfortable with some strangers procuring a $200 box free every month. So we got a lot of feedback that some people religiously come and watch the box, and then they purchase, they want just the one item from the box. And they're willing to pay full retail and not get it through the subscription. So through feedback, we tested different iterations of, if you scroll down, how we're showcasing the items in there. We initially we tested where it was a pop-up of the product. You could decide if you wanted it. And then we opted to test just having a quick add to cart quick button, which was actually a pretty large needle mover, allowing them to not have to leave this page and add something to cart was a benefit.
That's great. I'm going to flip the question that I usually ask around, because today you've shared some really inspiring test ideas that you guys have already done. So rather than me asking you what you would test, I'm going to recap a couple things I heard that I thought were really interesting for the audience.
Okay.
I thought that your conclusion or your testing of the placement of testimonials is something that a lot of companies don't think to do. Your product image test really stood out to me as, not just following your gut instinct on what images might be better, might look better to us, but really what performs better. And then I think the other thing here about, challenging the subscription model. So I'm hearing, you can subscribe to the box, but we also work with customers and meet them in how they need to shop otherwise. So this ability to add to cart here, follow along, build as part of that community, but not necessarily get that box every time, or to operate in the, we trust you, here's the great curated good value you get each month. So I think some really great takeaways, and really appreciate having you on and sharing some of the things that you guys have learned along the way. Before we wrap up, for our audience interested in getting to know your business better, getting to know you, what's the best way for them to reach out?
So obviously if they want to check out the business, just go to battlebox.com. And it's BattlBox is the handle for both social media. TikTok, YouTube are our two largest channels. I'm most active on LinkedIn, and I'm on X a little bit, but I don't have the patience for it. And then I have a blog, Online Queso, which is a resource of all things e-commerce. Really the focus on the blog is not just showcasing the wins, also showcasing the losses, because for reasons. One, the losses are where you get the most learnings, which is paramount for growth. But also, and probably one of the reasons I'm not a big fan of X is there's just so much toxic behavior in e-commerce, it seems, where people are touting these wins and it's not transparent and it's not realistic. And they don't talk about the L's they take. And that just kind of bothers me a little bit. So that's the focus of that. And then also we have a podcast. So it's called the Awesome Podcast. Awesome is spelled ASOM. And it's all things e-commerce from a few different perspectives.
Love it. Thanks for sharing all those resources. Really appreciate you being on today and taking the time to share with our audience as well.
Thanks for having me, AJ.
Thank you for tuning in to the Experiment Zone podcast. You can check out more episodes on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and your favorite podcast apps. Check out the show notes for any websites linked in this episode, including where to connect with us on social media. We appreciate you tuning in. Remember to like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you'll be updated of each episode release. And visit us at experimentzone.com for all podcast updates as well. Appreciate you dropping by.